Does your response really matter? Here's what I do mean by that statement is I believe that God's looking for our response to bless our future. Sometimes I can't do anything about what someone else says. Sometimes I can't do anything else about the choices other people make. But I can choose how I respond, and that's what God's interested in, and that's why He's more interested in how I respond than what has happened to me. Is what people say to me or do to me that hurts me or offends me or frustrates me or puts me in a tailspin or throws me in a pit of desperation. Here's the reality of it is I'm responsible to God in how I respond. They're responsible in God for what they've done and how they've said things. So God's more concerned sometimes in how we respond to things than even what's being done or said to us. And we don't like to think about it that way, but it's the truth. Does your response really matter? Our response does matter. Joseph had every right to his brothers to say, you need to be afraid. You need to be very afraid. You were the one that I went through this, and it's all because of you. How many people say he'd be justified and right probably in doing that? But how many people know that probably is not the response that God is looking for? Look what Joseph says. He says, but Joseph said to them, don't be afraid. Do you think I'm God? Can I tell you, no matter how bad you've been hurt, no matter how frustrated you are, no matter how bad it was, you're still not God. Your response is more important than what's happened to you. And the reason it is because you can't go back and change it, make it right, or cause enough harm and hurt to justify it. Only God can be your avenger and your justification and your righteousness and your judge. Let God be God, and you respond in a way that God says, I'm going to bless you because you responded in a way that allowed me to be God. Let me deal with them and you deal with you. That's why your response is so important. Can I tell you, I believe there are things in my life that have been hindered because I've responded in the wrong way. I believe that if we learn to respond in the right manner, in the right time, and bring God into the situation, God will bless us and elevate us and give us a future filled with hope because of how we respond in times of trouble and tribulation. Listen, it's a whole nother level of grace and faith. He's saying, here's God, and then here's what you intended. Do you think you're God? You planned to harm me, but God planned it for good. After all this happens, the pit, Potiphar's house and his wife, prison, being forgotten, finally getting to the palace at this time, his brothers that caused the whole chain of events are set before him right now, and he's in the authority and the position to take them out. Whatever he commands from Pharaoh will be done to them. And he sets them down, and the first thing he says is this: don't be afraid. Do you think I'm God? You planned to harm me, but God planned it for good. He planned to do what is now being done. He wanted to save many lives. So then don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your family. He set them free from their fears, and he spoke to them in a kind way. So how can I respond in a good way when bad things are happening? It's what I know, not what I'm feeling. Because what I'm feeling is hurt and disappointment and frustration and bitterness and resentment and all of those things that my flesh wants to feel. For now we know that God is working all things for our good, for those that are called according to His purpose. So how I can respond to a bad situation, I can say, God, this isn't good at all, but I know you're working it for my good. This is not what I wanted to go through at all, but I know somehow you're going to change something in me. You're going to show me something. You're going to shape your heart in me. And then by your grace and your power, I'm going to be able to turn around and glorify you and bless someone else. How can I respond in the way that I need to respond? Genesis 50:20, Romans 8:28. Because God, although I don't feel good, although this isn't good, although this isn't a good situation, I trust that you are God, and I trust that you are good, and I trust that somehow you are working all things for my good. And although it's bad, you're going to make it good because you are good and you're going to show yourself strong. And so I trust that and I believe that. Help me to respond in that way. It's easier to respond in the proper way when you realize that God has a plan. when you realize that He is faithful and you believe His word is true. Your response releases God's favor in your life and the life of others. How can you say that, Rob? Because this hasn't been good. And I haven't responded good. And I don't see any good in it. I can say it according to the story I just read of Joseph. I can say it according to Genesis 50:20. I can say it according to Romans 8:28. That our God is good. But there's something I want you to see. Does your response really matter? I'm going to answer that question for myself. I would say yes. That our response does matter. Here's what I want you to see is this. Is what your response releases. See, when you respond in this way, it releases one thing. When you respond in this way, it releases another thing. There's blessings and curses. There's life and death. So when I respond in this way, then I'm releasing this. When I respond this way, then I'm releasing this. What I want to do is respond in a way that glorifies God. So I release God's favor and goodness and grace on me so that He's glorified, I'm blessed, and so aren't you. Does our response really matter? Does it really matter?